what's going on people? It's SGZ here from the SpartanGameZone, and in this video I'll be showcasing my Grand Eraser Zane build in Borderlands 3, fully updated and feature length for 2025. If you're 50-50 on whether you're epileptic, this build may help you to confirm that, so a warning of bright lights and flashing colours to come. That's right, the most explosive build doesn't belong to Moze, but to Zane, and I'll be letting you know how you can achieve that with all the skill trees, gear and weapons you'll want at your disposal. So let's crack into it. As mentioned in the intro, this build is incredibly explosive. When fully geared out, it is a literal blast that will burn your eyes. This build can get to the point where you need to take precautions, and I'll be letting you know exactly what those are and what gear you'll want to look for to amplify the spectacle a little later in the video. First off, let's start with the skill tree, which you can see on screen now. The skill tree aims to support the weapons we'll be using, which have a low projectile count and a high splash damage radius. Like with my Grandmaster Zane build, we'll be using the cannon, as it allows us to easily proc our kill skills and activate any anointment. Supporting the cannon will either be the drone or the barrier. The barrier will make you more powerful, but the drone less lonely. I'll leave it up to you to decide which one you feel you need the most. Of course, the key skill here is Eraser, it's in the name. This skill causes a new projectile to spawn at the impact point of any of our critical hits. That new projectile has the damage of the existing one, but get a multitude of bonuses reapplied. The main ones are area damage and radius, but it also gets another dose of conditional gun damage, think something like heavy weapon damage, global damage, elemental damage, crit damage, and any damage dealt debuffs. It is simply an incredible skill, and we'll get into how we abuse it a little later in the gear section. Other key skills for this build include violent speed and violent momentum, which make Zane faster and increase his gun damage the faster he moves. These skills in tandem form the foundation of Zane's one-shot potential. Speaking of one-shot potential, Cold Bore is another skill that helps with that, giving our next shot bonus cryo damage after we swap weapons. Devour is another one that increases our damage for that single shot, giving us stacking gun damage each time we activate our action skill. Playing dirty gives us a chance at a 2-for-1 deal, allowing us to fire 2 projectiles which can each proc Eraser, essentially doubling our damage. And of course we pick up the purple tree capstone, Our Man Flint, which adds a nice 25% bonus damage as long as we're aiming down sights. Death Follows Close increases the length of our kill skills as well as their bonuses, whereas Seeing Red allows us to activate them simply by shooting our cannon, and also makes them better itself. Of course we can't forget about Duct Tape Mod, which is a necessity when we're dealing with so much splash radius. Onto gear now, and like with most, we'll start with the class mod. Without it, this build wouldn't nearly be as broken. We go for the Hustler, which you can pick up from Loco Mobius during the Psycho Krieg DLC, or all the way at the end of Sapphire's run. This class mod gives us a chance for non-critical hits to count as criticals, and make them more powerful. Essentially, it gives our non-critical hits a 5% chance to deal between 25% and 125% more damage, and activate all our crit skills, including Eraser. Of course, that's the key skill, but the other key effect here, if you haven't already clocked, is its potential to allow our splash damage to spawn Eraser projectiles. That is absolutely insane when you think about it, and means we don't need to aim in this build. Just get lucky and you'll be extremely powerful, with the potential for Eraser projectiles to summon another and so on, each more powerful than the last. Key roles on this class mod include splash damage and splash damage radius, with splash radius being the gateway to this build's destruction, but also weapon type damage, manufacturer crit, or mag size. Before we get to the rest of the gear, and I know we've just started, I thought it'd be good to cover the mechanics a little bit deeper. It's important to understand that Eraser projectiles can't physically hit the target that they were summoned through, but the splash radius can damage them. Here's a perfect example with the Freeman, of which we can laser guide its projectiles. The eraser projectile spawns when we pass through the critical hit area, but travels right through the ruiner. However, if we time it right so that it explodes while inside the ruiner, it will one-shot it with ease. This only really applies in practicality with the Freeman, but it does highlight the importance of splash radius in this build. Moving on to other gear, and the Infernal Wish is in our shield slot, because of its ability to increase our one-shot potential. You see, it will add an extra projectile to each of our shots as long as there is some charge in it, and with playing dirty, we can potentially get up to 3. That's 3 times our damage and 3 chances at proccing Eraser. Ideally, you'll want one with amp rolls to maximize that one-shot potential, and for anointments, aim to get one to cover each of the action skill end elements. For artifacts, the toboggan is the ideal choice, which you can pick up from this chest room in Arms Race. Not only does it give us increased slide speed, which works well with violent speed and violent momentum, but it also gives us 100% bonus amp damage for the first shot after we slide. The next best option is a Snowdrift Victory Rush, which trades the amp damage for some bonus V1 damage after we defeat a badass enemy, along with increased move speed. For both of these artifacts, best rolls include AoE damage in either slot 2 and 3 to also increase radius, mag size, weapon type damage, and movement speed. Lastly, for the grenade mod slot, it doesn't really matter. The only thing that really matters here is for you to have grenade mods that cover each of the action skill end elements. These anointments should play off your shield to maximize your elemental damage. Just remember that these anointments don't stack, so one should be cryo and the other corrosive, for example. Before we get to weapons, where I'll highlight all my favorite guns that you can do some pretty crazy stuff with in this build, I want to cover the preventative measures that you may need if you find yourself having too much splash radius, and the save file in the description definitely has that. Although Duct Tape mod protects us from our splash damage, it won't protect us from the dots it applies, so we need a way to prevent those dots from downing us. To do that, we need to only deal damage in an element that we can protect ourselves from, so that includes cryo, kinetic, radiation, or shock. Cryo and kinetic don't apply dots, so we're fine there. But we will want to swap out our anointments on our shield and grenade mod to suit this. The safe choice anointment on our shield is Sentinel move speed, and for our grenade mod, it's on grenade throw. When dealing shock damage, we'll want to equip the Transformer, which you can obtain from Queen Antoinette around here in the Splinterlands. This shield absorbs all of our shock damage and turns it into shields, which means we won't get damaged. When dealing radiation damage though, using something like the Yellow Cake, you'll want to equip the Red Suit, which you can obtain from Atomic around here in the Tazendir ruins. The Red Suit operates a little differently than the Transformer, providing us with 100% radiation resistance. That means that the dot is applied to us, but it doesn't deal any damage to us. That opens the avenue to an Elemental Projector artifact, which we can use to increase our radiation damage by 129%. It serves as a good option for this build, which you can certainly make use of. Finally, we're on to weapons, and there's a lot that completely transform in this build. For each of them, you should be looking for an action skill and splash damage anointment to amplify their damage further. The Globetrotter becomes an absolute monster, with its spinning discs zipping across the arena, causing blinding lights to flash all over the place. The Yellow Cake operates in a similar vein, with its splitting projectiles offering extra chances for Eraser to take hold. The Creamer is a less blinding example of this build, and is perfect because it deals non-elemental damage, which poses no threat to us. Ideally, you'll want the ×2 variant, and it provides a great pick up and play option for this build. One gun that is probably the most spectacular, at least on PC, is the Complex Root, with its shimmering cluster of explosions that erupt along the flight path. This thing is capable of completely clearing maps with a single shot. It doesn't make any sense at all, and because it's made by Maliwan, there's a greater chance you'll get an element that you're after. Some weapons a little more left field are the sawbar, with its splitting projectiles capable of dealing incredible damage. This seemingly harmless COV assault rifle can one-shot bosses, who knew? Similar to that is the rebound, where its saw blades deal splash damage and can be aligned just right to decimate your target's weak points. The Scoville's one where its high splash damage radius allow it to spawn extra projectiles when other guns couldn't. It's also one where you can use the trick of allowing the splash radius to finish the job. That works with the Shocker too, which can summon a devastating amount of orbs when both the Infernal Wish and Playing Dirty proc at the same time. The Devil's Foursome is another seemingly innocuous pistol with some incredible splash damage potential that allow it to blast away fields of enemies. And of course we can't forget about the Freeman, a gun where you have the power to control where that supercharged projectile lands. That was just a few weapons that I listed off the top of my head that are taken to new heights in this build. Here's a full list of weapons that you should definitely try out, and I'll catch you in the next one.